Gentlemen,
Gentlemen,
welcome back to another episode of The Clean Truth. I am Dawson Holt.
I'm Ben Jones, and today we got a couple of legends joining us. We got Aidan Considine and Danny Etkin. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys for having us. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, of course. How are we feeling? Everybody feeling good?
Feeling
Amazing.
great, man. Feeling great.
Sweet.
We're fun to talk some shop today, guys. I'm really excited.
100%. So if anybody is just straight up wrong and they don't know who you are, give them just a quick little life update, couple little details, nothing too crazy. We'll kick it to you, Aidan, first.
All right. If you are uncultured in the natural world, I'll start with my name is Etkin and Considine. I'm a member of Team Paul Mitchell. I want to say, multi-time world champion, compete on NASCAR, compete all over the world. I've just been hanging out right now. I've been teaching a lot and just having a good time. So,
sweet. Danny.
What's up, everyone? My name is Danny. I'm also a multi-time world champion, member of Team Paul Mitchell, member of Team Adrenaline. Went to USC, then I became a monk for 1.5 years, and now I'm working on the next phase, which maybe we'll talk a little bit about more what the next steps are, but I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
I also plug Team Adrenaline as well. I'll plug them as well. You have to make sure we're both included here.
Yeah, it seems like Adrenaline's doing some new pretty big stuff, right?
Yeah, it's got some, I've been working with them a little bit in the last couple of months, just trying to, make tricking what we all think we can be. So can't really give too much away right now, but we got a lot of good stuff going on in the next, near future, I'd say.
Good deal. Good deal, man. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll transition. Danny, you pretty just said it, so I'll just go ahead and just ask that big question is, you took everyone by surprise. You made that. What inspired you to make that decision to, travel to India and live that lifestyle, man?
Yeah, it was a pretty big shock for a lot of people, especially after graduating from business school. Usually people go on and get some corporate job, be a consultant, finance, all that stuff. And so, giving up my bed, trading it in for a yoga mat, and giving up my suit and tie for some robes was definitely not what a lot of people thought was going to happen. But actually the reason for that I really is kind of goes back to when I was a kid, and I think definitely through my martial arts journey also. And I think a lot of us get to that point where, when you're a kid, you have big goals. Like me, I wanted to get on Paul Mitchell. All of you guys, I'm sure, did too. I thought when I got on Paul Mitchell, my life is going to be complete. I'm going to be walking around, floating, all time. And as we all know, that's not always the case. And I think I just was looking for something that could complement my martial arts journey, my business journey, but something even deeper, a spiritual journey. One of the things I was inspired by that my first martial arts studio had right on their banner was called Toshindo Karate, and then under it said mind, body, spirit. So I felt like I worked on my mind, college, studying business, also on a competitive mindset. Yeah. I worked on my body as a professional athlete, and I felt like it was time to work on my spirit. And so I was always into meditation, and in college I got even more into it, reading some of the ancient yoga texts, specifically Eastern philosophy, and I decided I wanted to take a deep dive. So, after college, I thought, a lot of people take a gap year, they take a sabbatical. Why don't I do mine and do something crazy? Why don't I become a monk? Because it's something that I was always interested in. Since I was a kid, actually, I used to watch these Shaolin monks. Have you guys seen Shaolin monks before? They're like totally.
I came across one. Yeah, I came across one time at an airport, going to compete nationals one year. He was just in his robes, he's just chilled at the gate, just sitting there
doing some martial arts moves. Yeah. So I was always into like Shaolin monks and stuff, and so I thought it was so cool. And then I got into the martial arts part, and now, after college, I got into the monk part of it. So yeah, that's kind of like a quick version why I decided to do it.
Yeah.
That is awesome, dude. Yeah. I mean, that mind, body, soul thing is true for, like, just in general, just how you feel. Because, like, we do a whole bunch of stuff with our mind for schools and all that stuff. I mean, we put our bodies on the line, and then for your spirit. I mean, it's a great explanation right there. It makes a lot more sense to me now too. Because, when you first announced that and I saw that, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And then, it makes that's a good reason for doing something like that and dedicating a good portion of your life to it. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
and then before we continue to jump into like some individual questions, another thing I wanted to ask about is like what you guys feel like is your next step or current involvement with the sport. Obviously, top high level competitors for a long time. I mean, you guys started very young, right? How old were you when each of you started like competition?
I mean, I think my first, I did like an underbelt tournament when I was like 7. I think it was Amerikick, but like I first like started competing on the full circuit when I was 8. I did 8 till I was 18. So like it's kind of crazy that you can be like a 10-year vet at 18 years old, but like that's what it was really. Like we grew up in a pretty interesting time. Yeah, I think me and Jackson had talked about that on his podcast maybe a year or 2 ago. But my first tournament was AKA Grand Nationals, and I call it Grand Nationals because that's what it's called. When I competed, it wasn't the Warrior Cup at the time. In 2011, and was my first black belt division. I competed against Danny, Jalen Carr, Josh Kitterman, a bunch of guys, and it was like my first ever, time going against them. I didn't do very good in weapons, but I did do pretty well in forms too. I won all those divisions in forms. I won the runoff against Cody Sanders, and then I went to the night show and I competed against Sammy Smith, which they still had as like 13 under. It was like, I think it was like the winner of whatever. What is it? 11 to 13 or 10 and up, and then the winners of 9 and under. So like it was like 4 competitors. It was like a way different time, but it was a lot of fun back then to be competing. That was my first tournament at 8 years old. To be doing that was pretty insane, but that didn't happen for a long time. I wasn't on stage for like months after that. But it was good.
Did you do the flash at that tournament?
I don't know if I did flash. I did the behind the back B twist though. With my hands behind my back, and I did the B twist, and then I did like a standing X out to start my form.
Remember that.
And how old were you?
I was 8.
Hey.
I did a round up back handspring flash. It was my corner pass. I did a bunch of good, but like my tricks weren't all that great. But like,
Well, you were only 8 years old.
Yeah, it was pretty good for being 8 years old.
Give you some slack.
Yeah. But that was when I started, and it was 10 years of competing like that. We would do like 10 tournaments a year. So I mean, I forget what was the question. I'm sorry. I kind of just got
Yeah, like you guys have obviously been in it for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
So where do you see like your next step in terms of the current involvement with the sport, whether that's like coaching, still training? Obviously Adrenaline has some things that you guys are working with. So what's like the next step for you?
I'll let Danny go now because I was just talking for a little while.
Okay.
I'll get in.
Okay, I can pick from there. So where do I see myself going from here? Yeah, I mean, like you hit it with Adrenaline. So my last, it wasn't really a tournament. It was more of a competition because it wasn't an open circuit. It was just like a pre-selected battle for Adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm currently the title holder for the weapons division. So, that's obviously something. The last tournament that I competed in was the Adrenaline World Games in Vegas, and then I took that title match. So, obviously the next tournament, and when that happens, then that's always a possibility to defend that title.
Sure.
Not going to put anything in stone, but that's always a possibility. And then, for me, I actually haven't announced this publicly, but I'm really excited because I'm planning on opening up a studio actually.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
So I'm
Awesome, man.
this year, and the plans to open it up next year. So yeah, I want to just stay involved with the sport. And for me, I think martial arts is like an amazing way to combine everything that I'm into, mind, body, and spirit, right? The having a business, being entrepreneurial is something I always loved. Being able to give back, what I've learned from like how many years of competing now, like 15 years of competing, and just being able to do the sport that I love, and just helping people also develop and grow into, their best selves. So I'm excited about it. And so that's my plan for next year.
Sweet.
Awesome,
Congrats
man.
on the school. That's going to be
Yeah.
sweet.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
So have you guys kept up with, like, do you have many people you're doing private lessons with and stuff still?
Yeah, I have some students that I teach, all different age levels. One of them was on competitive edge, James Potter. That's my guy. I teach him pretty frequently. Judah's one of my students. I teach some other people too. So yeah, I love teaching, something I always want to do. Even if it's not, like I always want to just make sure that I have some students that are on the circuit and just staying involved in that way, because, after so many years of competing on the circuit, like I just want to give away all my knowledge at this point. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I don't really, I have like a lot of my students from like karate school. Like I work at a karate school right now. I work at my dojo that I grew up in. I teach classes, 5 times a week. So I usually work with my guys, and then I have some students that are just like getting started, and they recently like reached out that, my kid's getting started, and we always loved you growing up. So if there's, so I do some lessons with guys close in the New York area mainly. Don't have any current NASCA private lessons, so if anyone's interested, let me know. Quick plug. But yeah, I mean, teaching has always just been a big part of my life. I've been helping out in my studio since I was like 12, 13 years old, just like from having competed already and having some knowledge. I can help like a lot of my own teammates, and then little 5-year-old classes and stuff like that. I'm always helping out teaching. So teaching is a huge part of that, and I think that I wouldn't want to lose that ability. Like I feel like if you if you're not like competing as much, that's okay. If your physical aspect of it might not be there right now, but I would love to, like what Danny said, like I'm not really planning on competing again anytime soon, at least. So I would love to just whatever kind of questions people have, or whoever wants to learn how to do some cool stuff, I would love to teach them. So anything like that, I'm always down.
Sweet. And I would say I'm vouching for you right now to get some students. But it leads into the next question too, is like you have a pretty distinct bow style, in my opinion. Like if you don't watch a whole division and you see similar things from most bow competitors,
For sure.
then I feel like when you compete, like it's definitely like you can tell there's a distinct style, the way you move, the speed of how you move as well is obviously
I appreciate that, brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
the speed,
how do you feel like
is one thing I'm proud of.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah,
man.
How do you feel like you developed like a distinct style? Because you did at least some learning from Jackson in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. My first instructor though, Sensei Matt Federico, he worked at my studio, and he was really big into tricking and competitions at the time as well. Really great at bow, and even still, like he has his own studio, so I don't see him as often. But whenever I do, we just play around with the bow. He always has some kind of new thing to teach me. So that's where a lot of my body rolls and stuff like that comes from, is from him. just going from, since I was 5 years old, I've known him. So 18 years of just like, just playing around with the bows for hours and just trying to figure out something cool or something unique that hasn't been done, or, something that's not very in at the moment, like I wouldn't want to keep doing something that's very, oh, okay, yeah, well, this guy just went and he did 3/4 of the moves that I have. So it's going to look pretty similar, but maybe I'll have some distinction. I want it to be totally different, and I also learned how to throw the bow differently than a lot of you guys, I think, too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of you, I think, throw with the right hand and also catch with the right hand. If you're doing like a 720 spin, right? You would pass it with your left behind your back to the right, right would throw, double spin catch, right? I somehow threw it with the left and spin the same way, but it also gave me the ability to use both hands. Sorry, I have like one hand right now. I'm in a slide, so I can't use like but yeah, I would use my left hand to throw to my right, then right would go behind the back to my left, then I would go, into that signature combo, if someone wants to call it that. That gave me some unique ways to do bow, which I love. It's a lot different than a lot of people, so I can combine the throws and the rolls and the tricks and all that other stuff with some good strikes. I would think that would make a pretty good bow form usually.
I'd say so.
And then Jackson helped me out when I first got into the scene in NASCA. Probably when I was like 10 or so. Sammy Smith was my first one with Vinny Scarduzio, and then Jackson helped me out later on, and was really, that's when I got like 12, 13 is when I started like, getting really involved with just focusing on bow a lot more than anything else. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, you have my favorite voodoo by far.
Also, I learned, I had a whole bunch of guys growing up. Now you mentioned voodoo. I learned it from Ross Levine in 2008 or something like that. And I was like 6 years old. Who learned it from Nate Andrade back, even before that. So like it goes on for a little bit of a list of who people I learned it from. But that was such a great move to do after
right
pass. You end it right in front of their face and you stick it, and then you go and move on, finish the form. That's a great way to do it. Would I stick it all the time though? No, which is always not good. Which is why I would always get so upset to do it at the end of my form. But it looked better that way at the end.
But when you
when you hit it, it's freaking nasty.
When I hit it is right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe a 50%, not even 50%. It was like 35%.
Yeah, there was another. I just looked it up right now. There's another sequence you do that you spin or you toss the bow at a very short height, and you just move like you do like 1.5 to 2.
Yeah,
it's this one right here.
That's the signature combo.
That's the Siggy. Yeah, that's the good
that
one.
is nasty. I always love that.
too.
That's what I'm saying though. Throw from left to right to left to right. You go back and forth.
Right.
Well, I was able to do that because I learned throwing it with the left hand, and then the backhanded spin wasn't very difficult to get a hang of. But I feel like the height of it, you wanted to go lower to do the first one so that you could kind of get, I guess, some momentum to go up for the 1.5 and then the 2. But
it's more impressive too. Instead of throwing it
looks really
10.
I wouldn't want to throw it that high because then it throws the speed off,
Right.
If you throw 1.5 high and you're waiting for it, and then you're gonna be okay, I gotta do the next one, and then I gotta do 2, it's not gonna look as good. So you gotta make it. And you can credit my father for that, because he would always make sure that it looked as fast as possible. So throwing it a little lower would be how that happens. So
is the official move for that the Siggy? Is that the official move?
I don't know. I was just shortening signature, but you can call it whatever you want.
Probably skip that one.
Huh?
Probably skip that name.
Yeah, probably not the best one. We'll find a good one. We'll find a good one.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out. Also, Danny with nunchucks. I mean, I can. For anyone who doesn't know who Matt Emig is, they need to look his name up now on YouTube. So I'm guessing you learned your nunchucks from Matt, and he's taken he was a big, what's the word? He was a big role that helped you out, and then later on, it looked like you went on your own, later in your years and kind of developed your own style, and you ended up doing some unique tosses in your chucks. So what was your strategies behind nunchucks?
Yeah, actually, when I started training with Matt, I did commas, and that was the first time I got onto stage at the New England Open with commas. And then for my birthday, it was my 9th or 10th birthday, Matt just had a big box of his signature nunchucks, and he told me to pick one. And so after some time, I thought, I should learn how to do something. Even though I wasn't sold on the nunchucks, I thought I was in too deep with the commas at that point. I was like, I'm 9 years old. It's way too late to switch. I can't switch now. I'm in too deep. But then, eventually I was like, all right, let me learn something. And I started taking, here and there, maybe 15 minutes at the end of the lesson. I just have him teach me a few things. And then, by the end of that year, I was like, you know what, I want to compete with chucks. And then by the time I decided that, it was him so he wanted me to do chucks, but then at the end of it, he actually was the one that told me not to do it because I wasn't ready. So then he had to, then I had to get better. And so I started doing chucks when I was 10 or something. That's when I competed with them. And I think, exactly what you said is pretty much how I think of it too. I started off doing exactly what Matt did. He just created my whole forms. I just try to copy his moves. And then I think the natural progression for anyone is you learn something. I think this is the best way to learn. You learn from a coach and you do exactly what they tell you to do. And then over time, you start to see what moves you work well for you. And then gradually start to have your own input, and then just more and more becomes your own style. And it happens pretty naturally over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what happened with me. And in terms of some of those signature moves, I took inspiration from, there's actually a whole nunchuck community out there. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. There's a whole scene of nunchuck people that not like NASCAR competitors, but they do those big nunchucks, and they might do one or two of them, and they do all types of crazy stuff with it, really high difficulty.
What is this? Is this a Facebook group or something?
I was trying to.
I've been watching one on TikTok.
Yeah,
it's like a Facebook group, something. Where are these people? Where are these people doing this?
They're probably in Europe somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. I got one. This guy, he has a metal nunchuck. He just goes off.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, my dad sends me him a lot.
I tried to learn some of those moves at a certain point, and then I tried to adapt it for speed chucks with only 3 links. So that was, and just making little adjustments, to those moves. So I think that's where I got the one kind of in my later competition career, one where I throw it like that and I kind of juggle it like that.
Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, that one was inspired by. I would probably say that's the closest thing I have to a signature nunchuck move. Maybe that, and maybe the one where I land in the splits or something.
Yeah, do that.
But
George Vanderberg, what a name.
Yeah, a lot of those were inspired by those guys, and just kind of added my own flair to it. So yeah, and then also of course trying to trick at a high level too.
Yes.
And doing that with nunchucks, I hit cork, swing, double cork, spinning the chucks in my form before, and it was like that. So
that's so crazy to think about that was a form combo. Cork swing through dub, spinning the chucks. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's so nuts.
Yeah. For real.
Matt was the guy. Matt is the guy still. He's invented so much stuff to that. I would also say your signature could be the throw catch into the split was always a good one too.
That's a good one.
That was a strike out of it.
Oh yeah,
You would
Yeah,
strike
you
into
do like a
it.
strike set from it and then get up. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing was actually, I mean, it was kind of a bummer because it started off as a bummer. And it was to a certain that everyone left Team Emig at a certain point. That was just our team. Kenzie and Tyler got picked up on Paul Mitchell, and unfortunately, Aidan hurt himself. And then so I was the only person on Team Emig for a minute. The cool thing was actually Matt got out of retirement to do a nunchuck synchronized form with me, and that was probably one of my life highlights. Doing that with my nunchuck.
I was jealous. I was so jealous.
Creating that.
How long did it take you guys to build that form? Because I've seen the video.
Yeah.
A week probably.
I'm trying to think. It was maybe. I'm trying to think of how we actually went about it. I mean, we lived on other sides of the country, so
right.
Definitely, it wasn't like we were training all the time. But I think it was really like. I think we did it in like a week or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I went up early, and then I stayed with him, and then we were training at Jam and putting together the form. Yeah.
I think I've seen a vlog of that.
It's possible.
I was so jealous, boys. You have no idea. Like I was at a commission, but still, like Matt, it was me and Danny. That was the team at the time. So like Matt had to like make it so that there wasn't just a solo. But I mean, come on. Gets to do a form with Danny, and I don't get one. I would have done like an open form one at that point, but I mean that would have been so sick.
What year was that sync form you guys did?
2014 they did it.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what
I know the year because I was that year, so I couldn't compete.
So that man was probably filming Ninja Turtles at that time, and then just decides to do a form with you.
I think he was. I think it might have been a year earlier, maybe. No, I think it was later that year. That it came out, right? 2014 or 2015, maybe.
I remember watching it in the movie.
Ninja Turtles came out like that time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it came out in the summer.
We went to go see it, right, Danny?
We saw that was what we saw, right?
Yeah. We saw Megan Fox there too.
We saw Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got some pictures there too.
Yeah, we did get a picture with her, except she didn't know it. She wasn't looking at us. I got like the back of her head. But yeah.
So you just photobombed.
Yeah, she photobombed my picture and with Danny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my mom just commented it. Danny's vlogs. We used to binge those.
Oh yeah,
I've seen every one of them. I think I went back to watch them at some point and saw that they were no longer there. And
some of them are still up. I have some of the best ones I left up. There's one I think called Team Emig, Day of the Life. There's another one where we went to the Cayman Islands together.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So those ones are still up.
Yeah. Me and Danny we didn't do a vlog on my YouTube channel. I think it was just like a Q&A on my Instagram live. And then I think I stopped using my YouTube channel after that.
Well, Aidan too, you used to make like tournament videos and stuff, right?
My dad. So that's my dad. My dad would make those videos. He would go to the tournaments with us. It'd be me, my dad, my mom, and my brother. He would come with us too. And, it was funny because we would just like drag my brother along to these tournaments. But my dad wouldn't. He would use his camcorder. He would record. He would go around the entire tournament, like not just recording me. He would be there to like watch the whole form and everything, but like he would go afterwards and just go around to everyone and just get like some kind of clips from the tournament itself, and then like what we do at afterwards, or like how we were preparing. Like my mom I was such a picky eater as a kid, bro. Like our parents, when me and Danny would room, our parents would like bring a pasta maker and stuff, so we would have like pasta and sauce in the room, and like they would do all this stuff. But my dad was always making those videos, like the montage videos after the tournament. And those were always so fun. I mean, just to see, everyone like enjoyed it too. They're like, oh yeah, I'll watch it. I'll end up watching it. Jake's grandparents always used to love watching it too. And because like the quesadillas and the pasta was a staple in the hotel room on Thursday nights or Friday nights. Quesadilla night and then pasta night was probably a Thursday, I think, or maybe it was a pre-tournament carb.
Quesadilla night was always Thursday night was pasta, and then quesadilla night was Friday night.
First tournament, you got to fuel up with some quesadilla.
Yeah,
Right.
But yeah, it was so funny.
we used to make them in the hotel room.
In the hotel room, that's what I'm saying. Like they brought
George
like
Foreman
makers.
grill.
Yeah, they brought grills. They brought freaking pasta makers. They brought all these stuff. I'm like, are you kidding? Like thinking about it now, like it's unbelievable.
Well, that's so relatable because our moms do the same thing when we room together.
It's the only way to travel, man. You got to have all this stuff. It's a necessity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, that was a good one. That was probably one of the last montages my dad made was that tournament. So my brother
My mom just commented about the time that we had all you can eat sushi before we competed at
Yeah,
Quebec.
I was reading that and then saying
Do you remember that?
Oh, that was hard.
That was very difficult to compete.
That was disgusting.
Sure.
We felt terrible afterwards. We had it.
But the thing was, you had to pay for every roll you didn't finish.
Yeah.
So we had to force we had to stuff ourselves.
That's how they get you.
That's how they
You can order as much as you want, but if you don't finish it, we're going to charge you for it. So we ate as much as we could.
Unfortunately, we had to compete a couple hours later.
We went an hour later, did sync, and then felt. Oh, I'll find it, Miss Liz. I know I have it somewhere.
Oh, I got a funny.
Yeah, it's that was a great move.
We also have that classic picture, Aidan, of us eating pasta, icing our feet.
I'm trying. I know my parents definitely have all of them. I'll try to find some, dude. But I mean, like, we would do all this. Like, we were traveling so much at like 8, 9 years old, 10 years old. That like, our parents are obviously going to be with us, and they want to make sure that we're fed and we're it's obviously cheaper to bring stuff than it is to go to the hotel, bar and get food or whatever it is, So, but I mean, they went to incredible lengths to make sure that we were all taken care of. And I mean, now thinking about it, it's completely ridiculous. But you have so much appreciation for them now.
Oh yeah,
right.
I got. How many pieces of sushi would you estimate you guys had?
What was it? Sorry.
How many pieces of sushi do you guys think you had?
Oh, I definitely had less than Danny. I wasn't the biggest sushi guy, so I was like, whatever I got was like, I don't like. Wow, I think at the time it wasn't avocado. It was like avocado, which was unfortunate because that's like every sushi has like avocado in it. So I think I had whatever it was, like some kind of California roll that was like super easy, but I got like all of them. And I just ate like as many as I possibly could, and like all the super basic ones I ate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was less than what Danny had. So I don't know.
Yeah, we were at Quebec 2 months ago, and I mean, it was like a buffet at the hotel. So I mean, it's in Canada, so their maple syrup was delicious.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they know.
Their
know
poutine was fire. Yeah. Well, it's funny because Ben had poutine the night before Friday, and we had to do sync. And
that wouldn't settle well with your stomach.
Yeah, and
that's a Saturday night post-night show meal,
right?
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah.
Now
you know.
Yeah, we were getting started, and Ben's like, "I'll be right back." And we were on deck. I was looking for him. I was like, "Where'd he go?" And I see him by the trash can. I was like, "Yo, you good?" He's like,
on deck, man.
"Yeah, I'll be all right."
I was like, I will be.
I will be. Maybe not at the moment, but it'll happen.
Pulled himself together. We ended up doing fine. So
there you go. About Quebec.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I don't know if it's at the same spot. It still is. I think it probably is, right?
It is.
Yeah, but like, you know how there's like, instead of just like, there would usually be like a couple of hotels that like everyone would be at. Like they had like there's a couple of different ones too. I don't know in Quebec especially. I know there's like 2 or 3 that are like all kind of in the same vicinity. So I don't know which room. I don't remember the one that we stayed at, but it was fairly new, I'd say, too, Danny. That they were like trying to like bring in people with that to like celebrate their like opening or whatever it was for the hotel. I don't know what it was, but I know I hadn't stayed there before. Before ingesting their all-you-can-eat sushi, because we always used to stay at some other place in Quebec.
I don't know.
Nice. That's crazy.
Yep.
No,
So I have another question. Moving on to forms. And Aidan, feel free to chime in too. We'll talk about tricking. So both of you guys are pretty high level at tricking. Danny did trick battles. Did you guys ever do a sync battle before?
We have not, I don't think.
Like a 2v, like a
actually, we did one.
Quebec,
we won. That one, yeah, we did the trick battle. What was it? AK and first team Emig, was it right?
Okay.
We did that. We would do like all the NASCA trick battles that we would do.
Yeah.
And then there was one of them we did. It was my last actual time competing on NASCA, or not on NASCA, but on a circuit.
Yeah.
Was Irish Open 2020.
Yeah.
Me and Danny competed in a trick battle.
Nice.
But yeah, that was the last time. Like we haven't like done like an adrenaline battle or anything like that, like as a 2v2 partner, or anything like that. I mean, that's always something that like we had discussed, but I don't think that, especially right now, I'm not in any shape to do that. But I would love to, but we'll see, Daniel. We'll see later down the line, maybe. It's always a possibility, right? Never rule it out.
Yeah. I mean, watching you guys doing forms, like, I mean, seeing videos and on your YouTube channel of you guys hitting some tricking, seeing videos of Danny hitting a shuriken. Were you the first to shuriken? Were you technically the first?
He was.
Yeah.
He invented the name.
Oh, you made the name. Now we got all these Japanese guys just ripping them out.
Were calling it a typhoon.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that name, and no one landed it yet. And I was like, I'm calling it like Shuriken is so perfect.
The first time I saw someone try it was
like, when I landed, I was like, okay, I'm calling it Shuriken.
We saw Alexander Anderson try it one time, and he had gotten himself injured like trying it.
Yeah, because
I was like, oh man, this is scary to do. Don't do it. And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna throw it. I'll try it. And then he got like really close. I'm like, oh, dude, send it. And he did, and he got it. Like he has credit for that for sure. He gets credit for that. Since then, many people have done it, and they've probably done it really darn good at this point.
But
I know that he was the first one there because I recorded the video. I was there at the gym.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Alexander.
Good confirmation.
Yeah.
When adrenaline was
Camp
in
adrenaline.
early stages, we all would sleep at the Kane's house. McGuire and Jimmy Kane are the owners of Adrenaline, so we'd always stay at their house.
Yeah.
And we would sleep on all different types of things, cots and mats,
couches,
on floors, everything. And it just so happened that me and Alex Anderson were sleeping in cots next to each other. And I remember one of the nights we were just talking about what if you could do a shuriken cutter and you did an extra one. And then we were just talking about that, like that night right before going to sleep. And then the next day he tried it, and unfortunately he injured himself because he just had so much power, but it's hard to control it.
Yeah, right.
So I was thinking about trying it too, but then I saw him do that, and then I was like, hold up, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach.
Yeah, I'll wait a little bit.
I was slowly working on it for months. Probably took me another 4 or 5 months before actually sending it, because I would just do shuriken, cutter, and then I would just try to carry through and then swing my leg through and then hook kick. And I just drilled that a lot. And then finally I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to just send it. And then, that's how it happened.
It was so cool.
And now, the dragon kick is out. So I guess that's technically a triple dragon kick.
Yes, it is. So if you want to see what the original looks like, you can find it on our YouTube channel. somewhere.
I think that was Aidan Kennedy who did that, right?
It was, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
In the movie,
Yeah.
I could have sworn it kind of looked like Aiden.
I think there was confirmation. He posted it maybe the other day on Instagram.
That's
But
crazy.
it looked like it because he has a very distinct way of kicking also, that everything is long and freaking beautiful.
Extended.
Yeah, everything is perfect. So, I mean, shout out to him if you guys didn't know that.
That's a big upgrade from the first Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch
Yeah.
front kick.
Yeah, right.
The sport is evolving. Skip front kick to shuriken cutter. It's like big.
Yeah.
It's quite the jump.
Yeah. What did Jaden throw?
What do you say?
He did like a gainer switch.
Was it? Yeah, was it the gainer switch, Danny, for Jaden Smith?
I think.
Did he do? Oh, it was gainer switch. Yeah.
He like landed the switch on him
Oh, nice.
at the kick.
I think that it kind of pretty accurately depicts the progression of tricking. Actually,
I mean, that's fun. Isn't that a great way of going about it now? I mean, that's probably why.
Skip
We should
front
do
kick back then was probably like a decent move.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
now
Mhm.
and then gainer switch. Back at that point when the first Karate Kid
2010?
came out, no one was doing shuriken cutters.
That didn't exist.
If they did,
Box
it
cutters
was like
existed.
that old version of doing it where you do the kick and then you spin again and then you do the kick.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But
like
not
a
like
chamber. Yeah,
that wasn't out yet until like 2015 or 16.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All one leg moves though.
yeah, that's true. Very true. Because usually they go for your legs, and it gets hurt, and then you have to go on only the one. Only rely on one foot.
Well, speaking of like the tricking, how did you guys decide what you'd throw in your forms? Because like obviously when you can do so many different tricks and so many high level tricks, what kind of like made you guys narrow it down to specific tricks that ended up being the ones you threw in competitions?
Honestly, I mean, me and Danny would train a lot together, and kind of like make these forms at like these sessions that we would have. So we would kind of just focus on, trying to figure out a combo that looked good first more than anything else. Like, maybe it's not for the form, maybe it's, not for this upcoming form, but maybe it could be an idea for the next form or something like that, But in my mind, I wasn't like, I couldn't throw the craziest tricks. I still can't. I'm not, at that level or triple whatever is easy to me. But I prided myself on making it look clean, and trying to make it look as crisp as possible for whatever kick I was doing or whatever landing I was doing, or something like that. It had to look good. So that's what I focused on more than anything else, like was how it could possibly look, and how working with Matt and stuff like that, he always gave us ideas of don't be following that standard of just doing a combo straight across, jump front kick here, corner pass here, finish the form, be done, like that's a very standard format of how most people do their forms. That like we would incorporate like circle combos and stuff like that, or just kind of moving a different way that wasn't so uniform. That again, you wanted to be different than your competitors. And when we were competing, we had at least 10, 15 of us in the division. So how are you gonna make yourself stand apart from somebody else, especially if a judge doesn't know you? Maybe because I don't want reputation and stuff like that. I feel for tournaments is never a way to be judged. You want to judge everyone by what you're doing that day in that ring. So whatever I do, even if you know me, even if you don't know me, I want to make the form look the best for that day. And if it doesn't, then I'll find something else that does. Maybe a different way of the combo can look better. But yeah.
It's a great mentality.
Yeah, so we were doing some like little just research and looking up some forms from you guys, just watching again, and it almost was kind of like reminiscing, even though it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But then I also noticed
kind of was though. I mean,
it's like
we're at
when we started competing, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
This is true.
A long time.
No way. Oh,
Wow.
yikes.
Yeah.
2015, right?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, I just remember watching it as a young. I mean, when I was younger, watching the runoffs and you guys, Danny ripping out a B twist swing dub cork as your opener. Aiden, I remember watching you hitting Scoot swing 900 hyper circle combo. That
Oh, yeah.
was, I believe.
Oh, I thought you like when I was younger. I did a
I
lot of
was younger.
combos, probably Scoot
Yeah.
swing nines was like a big one for me, just because it worked and not a lot of people tried it.
Yeah, right.
And then I think I know which one you're talking about from AKA Grands, right?
I think so.
Scoot, yeah, maybe swing nine, but then I think I would go in a circle and something like that. Like you try to find a combo that, maybe it's a different setup than most people use, And also, I don't want to have 4 cartwheels in my form as a setup where I could have an aerial, where I could have a TDR, where I could have a scoot, where you could have a B twist. Like something else can be your setup instead of a cartwheel.
Mhm.
I ended up towards the end of my competing days, I think I did just like a whole bunch of cartwheels. But like, when I was younger, I always tried to steer away from doing stuff that was very repetitive. Except it when it came to flash kicks. I was a big flash kick guy, and I would do as many of them as I wanted to.
Yeah. Something that I thought was interesting too for Danny is like when you can do like a shuriken, but you throw just like scissor round in the form. Like there's obviously a skill level there that exceeds a scissor round. But what is the reasoning for throwing something like that? And I feel like I have a good idea of the answer, but I want to hear from you too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the scissor round was a whole thing actually, because it was one of the few times where I riled some people up.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, I challenge anyone who can triple cork to do this move. I said something like that. I wasn't trying to be that aggro, but everyone took it that way, and everyone got really upset. And then I just went with it from there. And so I put it in my phone, and not that many people were doing that move either. It's not that easy. And what I realized, it's like 20 times harder to put it in a form for some reason. It's like hard to execute it. But anyways,
you're tired, bro. You get drained a little bit.
My form just to make it a little different. And for me, that was like, because I think, the way that I like to think of it is our goal, right, as competitors is we have to be better than our competition. But then what does better mean? So there's 2 ways that you can be better. One is you can do the moves that everyone is doing better than they're doing it. And then the second way is you do stuff that's more difficult than them. So I think it's good to have some basic moves in your form, and especially when everyone's doing a jump front kick. That was like my version of the jump front kick. And so I was like, okay, everyone's doing a jump front. Let me do a scissor round. That'll be my basic move. So that's my upgraded basic move.
Sure.
And then I also have like some of the more classic difficult moves too.
And then for me, I didn't do the scissor round, but I would do the split round that Matt would do in his form too. Like, you didn't want to just stick around with the straight up jump front kicks. I would also have a jump front kick maybe somewhere, but like you could always switch it up with some kind of split round, especially for like creative forms. That was a big one for me. I always loved doing creative forms, and I would put that, in there because it's a different move that not a lot of people were doing besides Matt and then Danny too.
Yes.
Try to keep it different.
You had to really not. I mean, even your pop front kicks were just
crisp.
S tier. Yes, of course.
Thanks,
and butterfly kicks too, man. Those are nice.
I love doing creative forms, dude. It was so much fun.
All
I
right.
want to beat him out with it too.
Good stuff. So we talked about tricking. What about hands too? You guys also had different hand combinations. Danny, you also posted a video not too long ago. I think it was leading up toward AKA the Warrior Cup, just breaking down how to build a form. I mean, now what was y'all's process of hand combos?
Yeah, I think for me, I think that video kind of breaks it down pretty good. It's like I always start off at the beginning of the form trying to be clean, and just show that I have good basics. And that kind of just establishes my credibility. And it's like, okay, this person's good. They can do some, relatively basic moves. And I just try to keep it strong, simple, show a solid foundation. And then my second section, I always try to make it creative. That's where I'll have like a little bit of style, or a little bit more style, some different rhythm, more level changes, stuff like that. Try to make it a little bit more playful right in the middle. And the reason I do that is because I still have some energy left, right? So if you start getting too playful and doing all these big moves when you have no energy, it can start looking really bad really fast. So I try to keep a little bit of energy, but I don't want to start off my form like that before the judges even know I can chop punch. So I put that in the middle, right in front of the judges, so that they can see it and appreciate it, and I still have a little bit of energy. And then I finish off my form just simple, clean. By that point, the judges already know who's won. You just have to not mess up and not look tired. So I just wrap it up at the end of the form. That's my strategy.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Take notes, everybody. That's how it's done. I mean, that seriously, like, does it make any more sense than that? No, right? Like, you gotta start out strong, you gotta start out fast, and then while you have your energy, while you have some cleanliness left in you, make it a cool, interesting looking hand combo, because it's not gonna look that way in the third section, and you can blow a form that way by trying to do something. You can
wheel arms.
Yeah. Oh, I did a wheel and it looks like absolute, wasn't very good. So if you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure at that point, and, take it from people with experience doing it. Like, I've probably done that in a tournament at some point where I've done try to do something really creative at the end because it's the last thing that they're going to see. Right. And you want to do something cool, but it's like different than in weapons when you can do a trick to end it. You're not going to just usually like land a trick. You want to do like some kind of hand combo or some kind of like hand set before you finish the judges.
Yeah.
But if you're doing, way too much and it looks sloppy and you trip or something like that, when you had that in the bag, you're going to not forgive yourself for that, man. That sucks. You don't want to do that. Don't do it.
Right.
But Matt was a big part of that too. It's just making up our forms, and like I kind of modeled it how he would too. Like, you start out of the gates fastest, fast hands going out of the gate, chop punch, doing all the hardest possible, not even the hardest, but like, the straightest chop punches you could, that's where it starts off right there. If you get their attention there, then they're gonna be like, okay, what's next?
Yeah. I remember, Aiden, maybe you remember the exact number, but I remember when I was training with Matt, he had like a number of hand techniques he would suggest that you do in a section.
It
was like 10 to 15 or something.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of like, but he would count it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
So that's not good. That would be like every move counts.
Yeah.
So,
Calman and Marcel did the exact same thing when I was training with them. Like,
you want to have as many as you can to start. Not even as like, you don't want to get to like 20, 25 because that's an egregious amount of hands to start off a form. But like, you have a good number between like, even what Dane just did. He did 4 hits like each on one side, right? That's 8. You do something else, but you don't have to make it like, chop, spear, chop, punch. You can make it something, else to get to that number of 10 to 15, but I think he was usually 15, I want to say, because most of them were not short. Like, and
he had a lot of short hand combos. Like, he would go high block punch, chop, spear, chop, punch, go.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So,
and that's,
that was always kind of my style. A lot of people, I noticed kind of did like all these like super long combos where they're like going here and like cutting and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But I never got into that so much. I just kind of kept it down to the point, simple, and
our second section,
just try to look clean.
Our second sections were a little bit probably to like the 15 to 20 spot, I would say, where we do like, chop, punch, push, grab, down, back, whatever it was, something, it was something cool that like we would do that. Yeah. Like something like that would be like more in the second section, to where you kind of like usually you're probably also yeah that one too was in there a lot. Yeah. So that's there you go. That was Daniel. That was Daniel's good one.
Yeah.
Yep. I learned that at hyper camp one year. He told me that at hyper camp.
That's how we learned a whole bunch of them was from hyper camp. I learned a whole bunch from hyper camp too. Like I would just take a whole bunch of different ones. And just be like, yeah, what can I make?
Yep. Jackson taught us that move. Kenzie would have us do
and
that.
Jackson won the creative forms of that move too.
Yeah,
Jackson did the creative forms of that. Was that Quebec?
That was at Diamond Nationals.
You're
You
right.
can find that on YouTube.
2015.
Still.
That was legendary.
Yeah.
100%.
Points
So I feel like
pop.
yeah, good point. We kind of got to talk about sync right here at the right. I mean, obviously, you guys, I would say, and I don't think this is even
Excuse you
at all, one of the greatest sync teams of all time. Right? I don't think that's debatable at all, right? So,
one of is debatable,
right?
It should just be but we'll let you slide with that one.
Hey, I'm on your side.
I'm messing.
I could say the same thing.
Something I want to know about too is like, what are some of your guys' favorite syncs like to watch or that maybe inspired you? But then also, what's your favorite sync performance of your own? Like which one that you hit it after and you're like, oh yeah, that was nice.
I have one right off the bat. Danny, do you have it?
Diamonds.
Well, that was when we hit dubs. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
My first one though was 2018 US Cap Classics where we did no music.
Yeah,
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah,
that is the one.
Because I don't think, I swear to you, and I'm not trying to be like, whatever. I don't care. But I think that form, I don't think we missed a beat. Like I think we were perfect the entire way through. Like we were not out of sync at all. I know that's the name of the division, is to be in sync, but we were, sometimes there's always going to be like a little misstep somewhere where someone's a little bit faster than the other person. And that happened the night before where I was a little bit faster, and then we watched it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to slow it down here. I'm going to make this look a little bit, make sure that everything looks as perfect as it can. And I think that's my favorite form ever because there's no music. You can hear everything that we were doing. Dub Pop Flash was so clean. But the whole form was just so nice. I think that's my favorite one to watch just because of how good it was. And then there's a whole bunch of them that were just like my favorites to do. Because of the song sometimes too. Like certain songs that we would do were awesome. Like the first year we compete, the claps, play the funky music was a great one. But the first one we ever did was Tarantula, and that was like, I mean, those forms were so awesome. We would do the turn, spin around here, hit all that. US Open, we had a really good one too one year. Before they made us change like the music to not get copyrighted. That was when we couldn't decide on our music. But we had some really, really darn good forms, man. It was just so much fun to do them too. Like half the times when me and Danny were making them, it was just like it was the most fun to make the form than actually like, compete with it. Sometimes it was awesome, man.
Yeah, my favorite times is like me and Dawson talk about it almost every tournament. We probably watch that form every tournament.
The forms one,
the
Cap Classics one.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Did you guys get 10s at all with that form?
No, I think it was performance actually. Was it, Danny? I don't even know if it was a competition in that tournament. Like
I think it was just a performance, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we just did that as a performance. I wish we competed against somebody.
That's probably why we did so good.
Yeah, because we didn't have to care about the score.
Right.
Fun.
Now, it's like you guys in the video where I was there live. You guys are just standing there waiting, and then you're just like, Nah, listen to music. Y'all just took off from there. Like that's pretty sick.
I don't even know if there was. I think we were just deciding on doing it with no music at that one, because we did one earlier or the day before with music, and then we're like, oh, it's a performance. We might as well just let them hear how perfect. Like you can only hear one sound pretty much, which is like also cool, because when we would land at the same time, so you only heard one of us landing. Like that was like that's how you have it. That's how you want to get, is like you're landing at the same time and all that stuff, man. Everything is just gonna be perfect. That form is awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Before we wrap things up, we've kind of asked this to like everybody we have on the podcast, and it's like, what's your opinion on what you see currently in the sport, whether that's forms, tricking, weapons, anything that you guys have seen from the more recent, I guess, generation at this point, or everybody who's active right now. Things that you really like, and then maybe what are some things that you think can be focused on a little bit more. So just a quick take from each of you guys real fast.
You got one, Danny?
Well, I think everyone's up their difficulty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone is doing way harder stuff in their forms as a whole than we were, for sure. Because like there would only be a couple of people that would kind of just do some like crazy dub combo, which would usually be Danny. You know, at the time there wasn't a lot of people like throwing that all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Once we got to like when I got to the adult division, that for the few competitions I did as an adult, a lot of people were doing like the same kind of stuff, and I feel that was across not just the adults, it was across all of NASCA, that like the format of the form is very similar to each other. Obviously there's a lot of good bow stuff going on, but when you have so many of you guys all in like one division sometimes, or not even bow, for any kind of weapon, honestly, because you can do the throw Webster thing with any weapon pretty much, right? Like everyone did that at some point in their form, whether it was I think Esteban or Philip or somebody else, like they would compete against each other, right? Doing that move.
Mason Bumba.
Oh, Mason Bumba. Yeah, you know, it's like it's very difficult to judge that also, especially if you're doing something very similar. It kind of is like, okay, well, who does it better of that? But also as a spectator, it looks kind of recycled, you know, where you kind of want to have some areas where you're not trying to one up each other, but how can I one up, you know, maybe your own form, or make something that's never been done, or make something that, you know, looks incredible to, you know, every single person watching, not just, you know, even your players would have to give you some credit for it. Bless you.
Sure.
Thank you.
But so I'll be honest, I haven't watched too much of this in the last year or two, I'd say. I did watch Quebec though, which was awesome. I thought your form, Ben, was maybe one of the best bow forms I've ever seen. In terms of cleanliness and you not missing a beat either. I think music is a big part of it too for a lot of people. My dad, again, I'm going to credit my dad with a whole bunch of stuff, because he would always come and train with me and make sure that, you know, I was doing stuff properly, but also we picked music together, because you want to do the form not just with it in the background, you know. You don't want you're just doing a form and there's music in the background. You want to kind of choreograph it to the music, to where if I'm ending with a voodoo child and the music is going silent at that point, I know, okay, if I hit that gets everybody going. That gets me going personally, knowing that I hit the beat and I hit something like on the beat the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing that I feel like more people should be doing for their forms, is, you know, we have that ability to use the music. And I feel like if you kind of just focus on making that more incorporated with your form, it looks 1,000 times better. But yeah, I think I've watched on a lot of fighting too. Everyone's really good at fighting. Especially too. Like there's a lot of really good, like a lot of the guys I know most recently for us that we picked up. I feel like most of or a couple of people fighting wise are the most recent additions to Paul Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's really good. Like it's awesome. Because that's something that like when I was in my time as Paul Mitchell, we didn't have very many fighters. It was a lot of the forms guys. It was me, Danny, Jackson, Jake, Reed, Cole, Kenzie, you know, everybody was a really good forms competitor. And then Zoltz and Laszlo kind of faded away a little bit. Cam took a little bit off. Jo stopped fighting as much. But now there's a whole lot of really good fighters, and that's awesome. And I'm glad to have it. That's a very balanced team right now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything you're seeing, Danny?
Yeah, I would say everyone is leveling up their difficulty a lot. In tricking, definitely, like even in the last 5 to 7 years, you know, everyone is just crushing it, doing way harder things. And I remember, like, Aiden, I feel like we would always, like, at these gatherings, we'd always find ourselves in some hot tub at someone's house, and we would, like, think about the craziest combos and moves, right?
And now it's happening.
And now they're being done.
There's a video for you guys. I'm not sure if you know it. Do you know the title, Danny?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's a guy who makes like a claymation, not a claymation, but it's like a, I can't even describe what it was, but it's like this guy that he generates and he makes them do all these crazy combos that are not humanly possible, or so we thought, because now they are happening. And it's unbelievable. And that's for both forms, and you know, for form's sakes you can use all these tricks, but also for tricking in general, like how big it can grow because people are just testing the human ability more than I've ever seen. It's insane. It's awesome. Everyone's leveling up and everything. I think, you know, big part of my involvement recently in, you know, just with work has been with Adrenaline, because I have a strong feeling of what they're doing, and I think it's going to be awesome. And they're doing a lot of really cool stuff, trying to get the best possible trickers in the world involved for this league that we're trying to make, man. So, yeah. Is there anything? I can't think of that name, Danny. That's upsetting me. John. It's oh, dude, it's gonna frustrate me. I'm gonna find it. If there's anything else that you can think of, I can't think of that though. Dang, that sucks.
Just post it later. Just post it.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll find it somehow. I'll find it somehow. But yeah. Sorry.
Nice.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Danny, if there's anything more that you had to say, but I was just, that video came to my mind.
Yeah, everyone's leveling up. I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah.
Double Webster on the toss.
I mean, that would be impressive. Even like throwing it back to like Austin Crane or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no one does those double Websters.
Turn Webster.
Yeah, why not? Make it cool. Websters are so, everyone does a really good Webster now, besides me, but everyone is really good at Websters. So, you know, especially you guys, or I think you especially, Dawson. You know, look at that Austin Crane 2009 Ocean State form, because I know that one in my head because it's
very specific.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's footage of it, but if there is, watch it, because it was an awesome start of a form. We did I think it was exactly what you said, like the Webster turn into another Webster, but it was like my first time seeing it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just be different, guys. Be different. You guys are so talented. I'm so glad to call you guys my teammates. But I want you guys to challenge yourselves even more. Even if you like what you guys are doing, you are the best, right? Everyone is looking towards you as a target, right? So make them, you know, make your reach from them even farther. Like, don't let them get closer. Go even farther from them. Get like to a different level. Don't even let them be in the same area code as you, man. Get out of there. Okay, just do whatever you can. It's awesome. You guys are killing it. I'm so glad. But yeah, that's what we got going on.
Yes, sir. You
I
got it.
appreciate it, man. That means a lot coming from you guys.
Of course.
So yeah, well, we thank you guys for taking the time to join us tonight on this fine evening.
It was a great time. It was a great time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I talk a lot, guys. I get really when I talk about this stuff, I love to talk about this stuff.
Of course.
I really appreciate you guys having me on to talk about, just some shots from us growing up.
Yeah,
For sure.
So, yep. Thank you guys, Danny and Aiden. We appreciate you. A little round of applause right here. Thank you guys.
Of course, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
And as always, we'd like to thank Century Martial Arts and Sport Karate Zone for hosting us on this platform. This has been another episode of The Clean Truth featuring Danny Etkin and Aidan Considine. We'll check you guys
What's up? See you guys later. Yeah, repping. Stay repping. All right, boys. You be good. All right. Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir. Of course. Take care.
Danny, be good, brother.
Be good, Aiden.